Best of r/entitled parents episode 122. Subscribe for edit videos daily. I'm on mobile so I apologize for any formatting issues. I'd say this is pretty dialogue heavy, so just a heads up. This story takes place about 2 years ago, and I will admit my friends and I were assholes and purposefully tried pissing her off after the first incident. We were a couple of 14-year-olds and found her amusing. Here's our cast. CL Crazy Lady, who's our entitled parents. KS the crazy lady's kind son who would visit her on occasion. Mimi. F1 friend 1. F2 friend 2. F1 and I were riding our bikes down one of the hills our neighborhood was built on, and there was a car coming up the road, so logically we went up one of the driveways and continued down the hill in full speed as the end of the sidewalk went straight onto the road, and we were relatively good at controlling our bikes. Once we got to the end of the sidewalk, we hit the road and F1 skids hit bike to quickly stop. I of course do the same, as we lived in a shitty neighborhood and we knew if someone saw something we needed to go home for the day and play video games. Immediately F1 says, "Dude, I think someone is watching us in that house." He points to the house at the end of the sidewalk and suggests we do exactly what we did before so he can check. So we head on down the hill again, this time stopping at the end of the sidewalk. Then CL comes out and was relatively polite at first, but then she said, "Hey, you boys need to stop doing that, you're gonna ruin my grass or hit one of my cars." F1 and I look at each other confused when I realize that I'm stepping on this lady's grass. So I moved my foot onto the sidewalk and said, "Sorry mom, I didn't even notice I was stepping on your nice grass, my bad. I'm sorry if you thought we were too close to your cars, but we were on the sidewalk behind them and we've been riding in this neighborhood for 4 years, so we know how to keep control on these hills." Immediately she behaves as though I insulted her intelligence. "How dare you talk back to ME? I own the sidewalk on MH property and I want you gone before I call the police." Of course AF got and FATSSS think they can talk back to their elders. Now at the time my voice hadn't dropped yet, but I look much older than I was, so I guess she just assumed I was gay, which I mean she wasn't wrong, but she assumed purely because of my voice. My friend was a bit on the chunky side, but it was all baby fat because after puberty hit him he lost all the weight and is perfectly healthy. F1 pipes up, "Excuse me miss, but you don't even own your house, let alone the sidewalk attached. Everyone here rents their houses from the same 4 people and they all live in newest and nicest neighborhood in town. I would know, I'm friends with their kids." After that CL stormed into her house, but not before saying, "I know your parents and I will be calling them." We laughed as we headed up to F1's house, as this woman didn't know our parents, because if she did our parents would have warned us about the crazy lady. We told F1's dad what happened and he told us to just ignore her when we rode down that way. A month after the incident, one of our friends, F2, is over at F1's house while we are working out the details of something we wanted to do together. I can't remember what, I think it was a camping trip or going to the water park. We decided we wanted to invite our other friend who happened to live in F1 and I neighborhood. She of course was located past CL's house. So we head down to our friend's house, and along the way F1 and I decide to tell F2 about our run-in with CL. She of course found the whole thing hilarious and asked which house was CL's. Before we could even tell her that, CL was on her porch staring at us. We knew she could hear us talking about her because we were a bunch of loud-ass 14-year-olds in an Echo Y neighborhood. CL, to our surprise, comes up to us slowly and in the most creepy voice ever says to F2 and myself, "You two dating? Or is he still a queer?" F2 was taken aback by this and said, "I know, he's like a brother to me. Also don't call him a queer, that's really rude of you." At this point I knew CL was gonna have more to say, so I signaled F1 to go get our friend as she wasn't paying any attention to him. I walk around a lot as I have shit balance and swaying makes me nauseous, so I tend to not stand still whenever I can avoid it. Of course while I'm moving around I step on CL's grass on accident for half a second and she loses her shit. "Fucking stay off my grass, you queer. I'm autistic and this lady's screeching was hurting my ears and overstimulating me." F2 notices and unfortunately says, "Mom, please stop yelling, he's autistic and you're hurting him by yelling like that." Of course this woman loses her shit even more and says, "Oh, so he's a queer and a word for stupid person I won't say. I am not gonna change for a freak like you." At this point I'm on the verge of tears. I don't like being yelled at and the screeches were physically hurting me. Then KS steps outside and CL changes from aggressive to borderline pedo level of creepy and asks us, so what are your names? At this point we are extremely uncomfortable and F1's dad is outside looking down the street to see what's going on. KS looks at his mom and says, "Mom, go inside and leave these kids alone. People are looking outside and you know that there are police officers who live in this neighborhood." CL mumbles and goes inside as KS comes over to talk with us saying, "Hey, sorry about that, not gonna lie to you, my mom's a crazy bitch. I'm the only one of 6 kids who will visit her to make sure she isn't doing shit like that. Just try and avoid her best you can, okay? And if she talks to you, just pretend your parents called or something." KS went inside and F2 and I went to see what was taking F1 so long. Apparently our friend got a cat and he got distracted, which was fine as I got to pet a cat and calm down. We all went back up to F1's place and his dad helped me calm down the rest of the way. Side note, F1's dad was super nice and was a really good father figure to me. I still hate that F1 and I had a falling out, although I probably wouldn't have seen his dad much as his parents got divorced a year later. After all that, F1 and I would continue to ride our bikes down there, even going out of our way to ride up a driveway onto the sidewalk at full speed just to piss her off as we rode off. We never stuck around to deal with her shit and she rarely was able to yell at us as we'd just ride off. TL. Dr. Crazy Lady gets mad at my friends and I, insults me and call me slurs, and threatens us. Thank you. Next. So, I was reminded of this a few days ago by my mother. It happened in 2011. I live on the ground floor in a residential neighborhood. Children generally play in the road and are noisy, but it is part of life. The thing is that in 2011 there were no kids in the neighborhood. There would either be babies and toddlers who were too young, or the younger kids were now teens and they were too old for playing football or hide and seek in the road. One summer day I start hearing this terrible rumble outside. It is hot and my window is open, so I look out and see a bunch of kids between 9 and 13, playing loudly outside my house. I had never seen these kids before. I asked them who they were and where they lived, and one of them told me they lived 3 blocks over. I asked them if they had any friends here and they refused. So I told them to leave, which they did. Like I said, I can't complain when local kids play, it is their right. About 10 minutes later, the kids return. I see them and tell them to leave and not to come back. They leave, only to return a few minutes later with their entitled mother. The EM was in her late 30s, early 40s with very short shorts and a Karen haircut, even though I didn't know it was called that at the time. She was demanding to know who told her kids to leave. I look out the window and respond I did. EM immediately goes on a tirade. How dare I talk to her kids? How dare I order them to leave when she said they could play? On and on. I asked her where she lived and she confirmed that they lived 3 blocks away. YTF don't your little brats play there then? I ask, to receive the answer that me and my husband work all week and are tired and need some rest. We can't listen to the noise. I retort I work too and I am also tired and am not obliged to listen to howling brats that don't even live here. She took offense to the word brats and threatened to sue me. I told her if you want to sue me, don't do it for calling her kids brats. I'd rather she sues me for insulting her. So fuck off. She states that she will call the police, to which I answer please do. I will tell them how you abandon underage kids that were under your care. As you could guess, she didn't call the police. I never saw her or her monster kids again. Not a very exciting story, but it was my most memorable EP moment so far. Thank you. Next. I have been meaning to do this for about 3 months then forgot about it. About a month after Smash Bros Ultimate released and all the little goblin fucking children got it for Christmas and ate my ass online, there was local held at some little shop. Showing up it was mostly people under my age at the time, but I honestly didn't mind. Most people were about 10 or 11. I was sitting there waiting for my turn. I was almost last when I was called up. I played King K and beat the other kids pretty bad. I tried to shake his hand but he just walked away. I kinda just took it and walked back to my seat when I look over to the row besides me and the EK was whispering to his mom about something. I ignored him until she went up to the event organizer. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but she pointed at me and that's when I knew that things aren't going to be fun. The EM went up to me and asked me to talk to them. I remember going up and asking what was wrong. and the M said to the event runner that I needed to get in the losers bracket because of my age. He looked at her with confusion and said, "Any age can join this." Well, that's not fair. Look at it, it's a kid's game. He a teenager, he should be kicked out or at least not be able to play with the other kids. But why? In that case your son should lose the next round because of his age. Well, my son lost, so the other kid should play with his age group. The other kid was, I want to say, like 8 or 9, and honestly I think he would have kicked his ass. But the M was having none of this. If you don't kick out that teenager out, we will leave. He's too old and it's not fair to my son. My son should have the win now. Okay then. Well, thanks for joining us and we're sorry you didn't like it. The EM looked shocked genuinely that he didn't fight for her to stay. She just left in anger and her soon looked at me very angrily. I didn't win BTW, I lost very soon to a Pikachu spamming. Thank you. Next. I'm not sure if this story fits the sub perfectly, but here it goes. A couple years ago I went to a birthday party for a 1-year-old. His mom, EM of this story, was on the younger side, though I'm not sure how old she really was. My guess is 18-20ish. The party was planned by her mom, and because there would be 30 plus guests they took donations way beforehand to order a cake big enough to share. It turned out to be a super cute cake too. Big and professionally made, shaped and decorated to look like a giant gummy bear. Everyone loved how well it turned out and were all excited to have some. So all was well and good. We donated and arrived with a gift just like everyone else. The guests socialized in the yard while a bunch of kids played competitive games in the grass for prizes. Really cute party. When it came time to sing happy birthday is when it all went downhill fast. EM shouted wait, and unhesitantly placed her baby, sweaty and covered in dirt and grass, right up against the cake on top of the table and quickly took out her phone to take video for Instagram. Okay, now. And the baby grabbed, crawled over top of, and slobbered on the entirety of the cake to the tune of us singing happy birthday. Then EM ran right back to her friends to show off the video. Oh my god. So cute. Look how adorable. While her dismayed mom picked the child off the smashed cake and began cutting it into slices as best she could. Approximately 0 adults had cake, and only 5 or so children had a slice. I heard a couple parents promise their kids cake elsewhere instead because what EM did was too hella gross for them. Thank you. Next. Long story, I'm very frustrated, and I've never posted in this sub before. Forgive any formatting issues. I'm on mobile. I'm 22F. My parents are extremely religious and homeschooled all 6 of my siblings, and I write from KG12. We had joined a homeschool group for a bit when I was around 5-6. But one of the dads told my dad that we should go to more events, and that offended my dad because how dare someone else tell me what to do with my family, and that was the end of it. So from around 6 years old to about the age of 12, the only friends I had were my siblings and eventually my nieces and nephews. It was hard. My youngest brother is my dad's favorite child, favorite person, and favorite companion. Nothing anyone else ever does can compare to my 21-year-old brother who still lives in home and never went to school after high school. He's the exception to every rule my other siblings and I were forced to comply to. He was also always bigger than me, since I'm pretty small, and was borderline abusive towards me if I threatened his good standing with my dad, to the point where if my boyfriend puts his hand up to stroke my face, I automatically flinch away. It's hard to see my boyfriend look so sad when he just wanted to touch me in a very innocent way and I flinched as if he were going to hit me. My dad never stopped my brother from hitting me. He never stopped him from twisting my arms behind my back to the point where one of my shoulders got dislocated and I had to go to the hospital. He never stopped him from molesting me and my nieces multiple times for years. He never stopped him. Now I had the unfortunate lot of being born a female. As you can guess, women aren't as valuable in their religion as men are, and my parents had 4 daughters and only 3 sons. My dad firmly believed that my schooling only needed to go as far as basic math, basic English, and some anatomy. I still don't know math very well, because once I turned 12, I had to take over my mom's jobs of cooking, cleaning, organizing, helping with my brother's schooling, and helping my sisters with their kids. I was, however, allowed to join cadets when I turned 13. I smudged the truth about what we were doing so that I would be allowed to stay and make some friends. If my dad knew that I would be teaching males, he would have fought with the commanding officer and pulled me out. So from 12-19, the only social thing I was able to do was cadets. That's where I met my best friend, all my close friends, and my now boyfriend. Life was pretty good for a while. My brother was occupied so he couldn't hurt me. I had friends, and I had learned how to stay on my dad's good side. It all goes sideways when I was about 17. I wanted to apply for college and my dad said he wouldn't let me graduate until I did 3 book reports on books he chose. I didn't agree with the books he chose, because I felt like he was making me read books on a woman's place and why I should just be a wife and a mother. He threw the book at me and it hit me. I left to live with my sister. He got really mad and wouldn't talk to me. Eventually, with my mother's promoting, I was allowed to move back home. And I started college. I just graduated back in December, and moved 5 hours across the country to another province, with my boyfriend, but my family doesn't know that. I've been trying to apply for a new driver's license, a new health insurance card and a new passport. I can't get any of them because my dad threw out my fucking birth certificate when I refused to write his book reports. He was so angry at me for not writing a report that he threw out the one piece of paper that I needed to start my life. I can't get coverage unless I have my birth certificate, and now I need to apply for a new one, but I really don't think my parents are going to give me the information I need to fill it out. So now I'm stuck in a new province, basically alone. Besides my boyfriend, and I have no safety at all. I can't drive, I can't go to the clinic if I get sick, I can't travel, and I can't even apply for the one thing that would fix all that because my parents won't give me what I need. I just feel gypped of a life that should have been somewhat normal and now I have so much to deal with from them. I don't even know if this is a right sub to post this in. I just needed to word vomit my frustration at this whole fucking ordeal. Thank you. Next. So let me preface this saying this is my mom's story, not mine. I don't know all the details because I know it's a painful memory and I don't want to make her relive it. The characters will be my mom entitled mom entitled sister MD, my dad. My mom is the youngest of 2 girls. Her and my dad went to high school together, but didn't start dating until they were both in college. It was a chance meeting that they ran into each other in a bar. Cute story. Still happily married and in love 23 years later. It all started when my mom got engaged. My aunt was so upset because she wasn't engaged first, even though she was older. Throughout all the planning, she was pouting and kind of cold towards my mom. So the day of the wedding comes. My mom is getting ready with her bridesmaids. She is marrying the guy she has had a crush on since high school. She has her perfect venue, and she's wearing her grandmother's, my great-grandmother's, dress. Everything is going absolutely perfect, until my aunt starts crying. My mom tried to comfort her, because she is the most selfless woman in the world. Even though she was getting married in mere hours, she was focused on her sister. A little while later, after my aunt ran off, my grandmother pulled my mom aside. Like I said, I don't know every detail, but the conversation went something like this. Hey you're really making ES upset. Confused. What did I do? You're way too happy and it's making her upset that she didn't get married before you. Pardon me? Can you just be a little less happy? My mom was in shock. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life and here was her mother telling her to be less happy so her sister didn't get butthurt. My mom's whole life, she was always told to set her accomplishments aside so her sister felt special too. When she was younger, she was told by her parents she would never go to college because she had a hard time in school, dyslexia and ADD before professional help was available. My mom defied all odds and graduated with a master's degree. Can you guess who got all the glory for graduating from college? You guessed it, my aunt. And on this day, my mom wasn't having it. Look mom, I'm sorry that ES is upset, but today is about me and MD. We're happy, and I'm not going to hide that or pretend I'm not just so ES won't be sad. Today is the happiest day of my life. And I'm not giving that up for anyone. My grandmother shut up after that. She did give my mother a disapproving look though. I don't even need to have been there to see it. My mom still gets them all the time. After that, the wedding was perfect. My mother still talks about it with stars in her eyes. Now, my mother still has to deal with their shit sometimes, but she also has my dad and us kids, 2 of us are adults now, to help stand up for her. She's very happy, and I'm so glad she stood up for herself. There are a few stories like this that I know about, but this one makes me the saddest. I'm just glad she didn't let it ruin her wedding day. Thank you. Next. Entitled People Thread. Mayo, I seen something on Twitter and I thought this would be funny. So a couple months ago my boyfriend and I went on a cruise and we would play in the arcade. Well, the arcade keeps all your points on a card and you can get little prizes out of a machine with the points. So our whole cruise we would go to the arcade for a few minutes because it was right by the bar, and one of the last days my boyfriend went to see how the tickets work. He put his little card in the machine and on a touchscreen it lets you pick the prizes. So my 26-year-old boyfriend sees a little magnetic compass and gets hype. The machine had 2 different dispenser holes and we were standing by one waiting for it to come out. Well, a little kid runs up to the other one and snatches my boyfriend's compass and he looked heartbroken, but of course he wasn't going to say anything because it's a kid, and the mom had the nerve to say, "Oh haha, it's okay, she can keep it," and walked away. I was dying because honestly it was so funny, but I couldn't believe how entitled some people are. Like, no, your little kid is a brat. Give my big child his compass back.